Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Tanya of Dark Moon Papery. Welcome back if you've already been following my videos, following my Instagram, and welcome if you're new to my channel. Good to see you here. So today I've got a custom journal that I want to show you. Um, this this seems to have taken forever to complete, and that's because we're actually in the process of packing up the house to move. All being well at the end of September, not long to go now. It's all very fraught and very tense. It's exciting and awful and stressful and exciting all at the same time. So it feels like this has taken a long while to complete, but I'm really, really pleased with how this one's turned out. So let's just get right ahead and have a look, shall we? So here she is in all her glory. Oh, check out that gorgeous vintage lace hanging out the bottom. I just love that. Lots of tassels from the sari ruffles as well. I always love those. Tied with this lovely blue and green variegated sari ribbon. So let's undo the journal. And I'm really loving the colours for this one. I do like pinks a lot, but I've found that I've really enjoyed this colour scheme. This is a custom journal, and one of the fabrics that the person who ordered this journal picked out was this gorgeous fabric here. Now it's not very vintage, but it has a lovely sort of vintage look. I really love it. Love the colours. I'm really liking this combination of sort of like these kind of like mustardy green with the turquoise. So I've tried to sort of reference that throughout, but I've also thrown some pink in there, as you can see from that glorious side view. So on the front, we've got antique buttons. Love these linen buttons. Really love how they look. And we've got some vintage ones there. Nice bit of embossed velvet and some Indian sari trim. This is from a vintage Indian sari that I've had for many years. Nice little bit of beady work there, and some more beading here. Another antique button. Just love those, and a nice bit of gold for a bit of sparkle around the middle. So yeah, that's the front. Open her up, and I have to say this is one of my favourite views of the journal. Absolutely love this. We've got an Edith Holden page in here. I absolutely love Edith Holden country diary books. Really love them. Love the butterfly on here. And then over the other side, we've got one of my my personal collection of gold postcards. I'm slightly obsessed with gold postcards. I mean, look at that. And I just love the yellow flowers, and it goes so well with this page here. So we've got that. There's the back for that. And then these are from a vintage receipt book from the early 1900s. This is vintage wallpaper here, two different sorts. I love these blue flowers, and it's got a nice kind of sheen to it, as you can see. And then this is a playing card. I'm not sure this is particularly vintage, but I just love that illustration, and it goes really, really well with the gold postcard and the flowers on this side. And then I've just stuck part of a receipt there for a bit of journaling. You might want to write some dedication or something there. All the papers inside are hand dyed by me and spritzed, generally spritzed with gold. If you've been following me a while, you'll know that I absolutely love my gold. And then this is a vintage postcard. It wasn't very interesting on the picture side, but I just love the writing, and it works well as a place to slot in mementos and things. Excuse me. Coughing already, dear me. Nice bit of bow there. So here we've got one of my handmade tags. These are the wallpaper tags. If you've been following me on Instagram, you might have seen these on there. And these lovely illustrations, they're actually from a vintage Verkade album, a Dutch Verkade album that a lovely lady sent me sheets of these, and I've just cut them up and used them on various tags and throughout this journal. And then what I'd done is I'd actually made them into postcards on the back with a postcard printable. Oh, sorry, actual postcards that I found. I found when we were starting the packing to move, and I just found them at the back of the cupboard. So I thought, oh, you know, I'll dye them a bit. So that's what I've done. I've dyed it with a mixture of tea and ink to get that sort of pinky avocado colour, and of course spritzed with a bit of gold. And then here on this other side, this is a printable. It's actually one of my own printables. Just of a nice sort of French postcard, the back of a French postcard that I scanned. And then here is a page from a vintage Reader's Digest gardening book. And I just love the illustrations. They're just very vintagey and very lovely in those books. So that's what's in there. And then on this other side, we've got nice colourful stamp from Cuba and these little leaf charms. More of that gorgeous sari ruffle trim. Here we've got a vintage photograph. I love this lady. She just looks so serene. I'm guessing this is early 1900s, looking at her dress. And I've just put some nice modern trims on there, but I think it goes well, and the sparkle kind of just like lifts the photo. Oh, there we go. 21st of the 12th, 1916. And it's actually with fond love and best wishes for a happy Christmas. So how about that? So that pops in there, a little bit of vintage crochet lace there, and this is part of a vintage French check. Some nice ledger here. I absolutely love this ledger paper because it's got slightly washed out. You'll see further on some of the ink has got blurred, and I don't know whether it's been in contact with water at some point in its life. And then here on this side, I've used this vintage lace to create a pocket so that you can slot things in. And then moving on more to the sort of pink section, this is an envelope that I made from some gorgeous vintage pink wallpaper, and I've just added a bit of antique script and some nice stamps on there, so you can store some little treasures in there. And then lovely stamp from Cuba on the back. I've got quite a few of these Cuban stamps, and they've all got butterflies on, and they're just really rich and vibrant coloured. A little bit of music script there. So that slots in here. And we've got this gorgeous hand-dyed crochet lace. I love the colour of that. It's just turned out so well. And then on the other side, I made a couple of tags from one of my favourite ruby and pearl printables. I just love these rose images. So I've just made those into little tags, and I've actually backed them with scraps from vintage invoices and receipts, and just popped a little bit of crochet lace on there. So that's that pocket there. Again, another postcard printable. And this is from a vintage embroidery magazine, and I've kind of like torn the edges and stuck it to some paper to give it some strength. But I love these flowers, I love this flower detail, and I've kind of echoed that with this modern flower. It's like 3D embroidery. A big piece that I got with lots of flowers on, and I just think that works really well there. I do love this. It's one of my favourite views of the journal. Oh, and more crochet lace down the bottom. And throughout the journal, I've tried to leave plenty of journaling space so you can record your own thoughts and experiences, your hopes and dreams and all that kind of thing. And, you know, sticking treasures that you find, photographs, all that kind of thing. So there should be plenty of space for you to add to the journal. It is pretty stuff full, I have to admit. So on this page, again, just some snippets from invoices that I've just layered over this page. Bit of vintage French music there. Love this Sarah trim here. Again, that just a bit of sparkle. I really do love adding sparkle to journals. And this is a hand-dyed doily, paper doily. That I've stuck some of this embroidered lace. I absolutely love this. Love the sparkle on it. And here we've got some modern glitzy lace. I love this. I think this was actually my last piece of this lace, which is a shame actually, because I don't think I can get it again. It's a real shame that, because I've absolutely loved using that lace. And then we've just a vintage photograph. Oh, slightly out frame there. From Norway. At least I think it's Norway. Yep. And then this lovely little tea card, tropical bird tea card, cockatoo. And that's actually got significance, I think, I hope, for the person whose journal it is. And here is one of my faux antique postcards. This is an antique illustration from a book in the late 1800s that if you've seen some of my stories and stuff, I got a huge box full of antique illustrations that had been cut from books from the late 1800s. So this is an actual antique illustration. And then I've used some not very interesting postcards on the backs to make them into sort of like faux antique postcards. And I just love how they've turned out. And of course the postcard back gives the antique illustration a good foundation, because some of them are quite brittle. And I just love that. I love this lady with a gorgeous big hat, and I love her frock. So that goes there. Another gorgeous butterfly stamp. And on this side I've used another Edith Holden page. Lovely flowers. And I've put this little photograph here. You can see that clearly enough. And I just love that. That photo's so sweet. So it's a nice little pocket there. And there's a playing card with a lovely cat design and a vintage ticket on there. And then on the other side, I've just put a really interesting, gnarly, grungy scrap of paper on there. I just think that goes really well. And there's a pocket on the other side as well. Vintage label down here. More hand-dyed paper, nice space to journal, and again it's got the gold and the powders that I use. They're paper artsy infusions, and they're just amazing. You basically just sprinkle it on damp paper and it creates all these wonderful stains and patterns. Now this is another very favourite page. Really, really love this one. Love how it turned out. On this side, we've got some vintage braille paper, and I've stenciled through a lovely little wildflower stencil with some texture paste. Absolutely love this photo, this wedding photo. I'm kind of obsessed with wedding photos at the moment. And I just love this. I can't work out when it's from, but I love that. Look at the windows there at the side of the door. I don't know if you'll be able to see. They've obviously got stained glass windows either side here, and that's just such a lovely photo. And then on the other side, we've got some antique lace, vintage lace. This is modern embroidered lace with these kind of like pearls attached to them. But I love this. Love the colour and that bit of sparkle. And then underneath, vintage French music script and another of those antique illustrations there. Oops, it's like that, a frame. This is the other side of that vintage braille paper. And then I've just done a torn pocket here with these flower illustrations on. And these are actually from a book called, let me find it for you, Shakespeare's Flowers. And it's a wonderful book full of all kinds of flower illustrations. And I just love them. I've been using them a lot. And here we've got a rent book from 1951. I love the colour of that, and it goes really well with this birdie here. It's another tropical bird from somewhere, I can't remember where. And this is another vintage tea card. Nice bit of polka dot trim. And the other side of that rent book. And this is a photograph from a not so very vintage book on David Austin roses that I got. And the photography in this book of all these roses is just absolutely amazing. And I love using them. They, in amongst all the sort of very vintage things in the journal, I just love the pop of colour that they have against the sort of worn paper. Over here, this is a printable, and I can't remember where it came from. So I do apologise to whoever's printable this is out there. But it's gorgeous. I just love that. It goes so well with the roses theme. And then I'll try and remember who it is. I will try. I'll see if I can find out whose it is, and I'll put it in the comments. I suspect it's Heather from Ruby and Pearl, but I'm not 100% sure. But hey ho, I will find out. So then here we've got a vintage plant ticket. I think it's to do with supply of plants, something like that. And then these are dried flowers from my garden. So there's a rose petal, and I don't know what these purple flowers are, but look how well the colours have kept. And all I did was dry them for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, and then glue them onto the tag using Mod Podge, and then just gave them a light coating, which also gives them quite a nice sheen. I absolutely love how they've turned out, and I can't believe how well the colours have stayed. Lovely bit of ruffle here. And then this is an antique French document, an invoice or something like that. Love that. And these are more vintage plant illustrations. Love the colours. And then here we have the middle. Now this is something a bit different. So look at that. Look at that gorgeous flower. This is actually part of a linen tea towel that I was given. And it has all these big panels with flowers from Australia, New Zealand, that part of the world. And I just absolutely love that flower. And it just had to be the centerpiece of this journal. And what I've done is obviously I've like sewn around the edges, and it's backed onto here. But I've left a couple of pockets either side so that you can slot something in there. And I've done a couple of tags that fit in. Look at those. I love those little birdies. They're more of the Dutch Verkade album illustrations. And they're just very simple, straightforward, but they just slot in here ever so nicely for a little bit of hidden journaling. And of course you could put other things in there as well. But I just love how that's worked out. More of those vintage illustrations, and the other part of that antique invoice. And of course you could journal in this space here, maybe put a photograph or something like that. Here we've got the other side of that printable, and this is some vintage lace as well for a pocket. And then I've just added a vintage envelope, just zhuzhed up with a bit of sparkly on the end, so you can put some treasures in there, and another vintage playing card. Love these illustrations. This is the other side of the Rent book. More David Austin photographs of flowers, and that's a pocket there that you can slot something in, and just edged with this gorgeous vintage lace. And I love this blue shade, really like that. And then look at that. I do love that colour. That colour's just amazing. Love the advertisement for Flower. That's fabulous. And then on this side, this is the other corresponding page with the vintage braille paper. And I've just added a bit of ledger paper that I was actually painting one day. I was doing some artwork, and I knocked the container of brushes and water everywhere, and it actually sort of like splattered on this ledger paper. But I just really like how it's turned out. I think that looks really good. There we have that. Another little tea card. Gorgeous butterfly on. more from the Shakespeare's Flowers book, and a little bit of antique lace along the bottom. And then this is another favourite view. So many favourite views actually in this journal. There really is. On this side we've got this lady. This is another antique photograph. And this trim here, it's kind of like a dark greeny gold. That is actually it's actually a 1920s trim that I bought at a vintage fair a long time ago, together with some metallic lace. I think that's 1920s if I remember right. And then this is part of a Victorian lace collar. Just that little snippet and a little antique button there. So all antique. Just love that. There you can see the stenciling with the texture paste. Vintage crochet lace there. And then on this side we've got some more of the vintage French music sheet. This is vintage wallpaper. Lovely butterfly stamp. And then in the pocket here, this is a vintage postcard. It's actually the Giant's Causeway in Ireland. I love that. I love the fact that it's got a bit gnarled. And then this is a letter written. Not sure. I can't quite work out the date. I can't work out whether that's a 3 or a 5. But this is a lovely handwritten letter. I wish my French was good enough that I could understand what it said. I really must brush up on my French. But yeah, so that's lovely. That goes in there. Nice bit of washi tape down the side. Love that view. And then this is the envelope that the letter was in. And I've actually made this into a flip out. So you can do hidden journaling in here, maybe write something on the back, maybe slot some photos or other mementos in here. Got some more Edith Holden. Love this gold illustration. And a pocket at the side for you to store your treasures. Another scrap, another gnarly sort of vintage scrap there, a French stamp. And then this is actually, it's a modern postcard. I love the colours though, and I thought this went really well with the Edith Holden sort of vibe of this page. So what I've done is I've just sort of like darkened the edges and backed it with some, I think this might be antique German ledger, or well, it's certainly very vintage anyway. It's quite fragile. So I've backed that onto the postcard, a little vintage label on there. And then I basically just whacked it on the side of the desk to get some notches in and a bit of wear and tear on it. And I think that's turned out really well because it looks quite vintage. So I'm really pleased with that. Love this little fairy boy here. That's absolutely fabulous. And I love that pop of colour at the side of it. I think that works really well. And then over on the other side, more of the vintage French check. Look at that page. I just love how these powders work with the gold. Love that. Hand-dyed paper, of course. And then we've got a vintage playing card that I've just put a bit of a tassel on. And then this is part of an antique invoice. Look at that, look how that's sort of worn. It's gone dark around this section, but this section's remained really light. And I love how that's happened. I love that it's all gnarly and crinkly on the edges. I haven't done that. It came like that. But I just love that. And of course you can really see the darkened colour on the back. You could use that for journaling if you wished. And then more of that hand-dyed doily, more of that gorgeous lace. I'm kind of obsessed with that. And then on this page, there's more of that hand-dyed paper, again with the powders, and hopefully you can see the flash of gold on there. And then this is just an offcut from the cover. And I really like that idea, just having a scrap of fabric from the cover on the inside. On this page we've got a vintage crochet lace pocket. This lace actually came from a vintage tablecloth that I've had for ages. And when I started packing up the dining room, ready for moving, I'd got the tablecloth out, realised it would be perfect to use in journaling, and especially since the actual cotton part of the tablecloth was going in holes. I've had it so long, so yeah, I decided to just take the trim off and use it in journals. So that's kind of like from my own personal dining collection. And I've just popped a pocket on there with another Vacada album illustration, and this gorgeous, really unusual stamp from Mongolia. I love the colours on that. I love the shape as well. And then this is a wine label. I love this illustration here. Absolutely love that. Space for journaling, of course. He looks rather grand, that chap. Over this side, there's another of my vintage wallpaper tags. Vintage lace, lovely sari ruffle, another Vacada album illustration. Love these orange butterflies. I love that pop of colour, and I like how it ties in with this little stamp over here. And again, this was one that I made with postcards that I found in the cupboard, just hand dyed and spritzed with a bit of gold. And we've got some vintage bus tickets and a pocket there for treasures. Oops, they've come off. And on the other side, we've got a vintage library index card, and then just some modern stamps from Belgium. And I save all the stamps that come in from, kind of all over the world. Although they're not vintage, this one's got this lovely illustration on here, and they're just a nice little collectible item for your journal. There you can see we've got more of that watermarked ledger paper, and the other side of the vintage lace for a pocket. I love how it's sort of faded the lines. The other part of that vintage French check, and another wallpaper tag, hand blocked wallpaper, David Austin roses. And then this is more of that vintage blue lace. I kind of ripped it in half, and I really like the torn edges. And then on this side, we've got a vintage postcard. I managed to bag a really nice little lot of vintage rose postcards on eBay, and this was one of them. I just love them. They're so nice. Not all the same. They were all different, but I really liked how this one goes with the vintage airmail envelope. I like the colours together. And then we've got another antique illustration there. You can see that a bit better. The book that this was from, it was all examples of like theatre menus, calling cards, business cards, all that kind of thing. And it was kind of like looking at the artwork that was on these items. There's so many of them. I think there were over 200 illustrations, so we have a fair few to go at. And then on this other side, we've got a vintage wallpaper pocket with this lovely rose illustration on, and some vintage French stamps and a ticket. And then we're almost at the end. So on this side, we've got a belly band made from vintage lace, more journaling space, and then just some scraps. This is a scrap from a check from 1928. And then this is another piece of that German ledger paper that I'd actually used to back the tags. The other side of the Edith Holden page. And on the back page, this is a printable from Ruby and Pearl. That gorgeous vintage wallpaper. And then I've just made a little pocket with some modern fabric, but it goes well with the colour theme of this journal, and a vintage playing card in there. So there you have it. I'm just so pleased with this journal, and I really hope that the lady this is going to enjoys this journal as much as I've enjoyed making it. And I really hope you've enjoyed this flip through, whether you prefer the chatty flip through or the non-chatty flip through. Really hope you've enjoyed having a look through this journal with me. And thank you very much. And if you've enjoyed it, do give me a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe to my channel so that you can see more of my videos. And thank you ever so much. And hopefully I will see you soon. Hopefully the removal won't get in the way too much. So I don't know, maybe I might not have a chance to video anything now for a little while until we've moved, but we'll see how things go. So thank you so much again for watching. Bye bye.